This is a trine to Uranus. This is G. We're going to walk through another chart. This is the week of August 19th. Starting August 19th, right? Monday, there's a full moon. Full moon on the 19th. There is a separate video on that. It was already up on the channel. It would have been available weeks ago. You know, you're going to want to watch that one because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this Monday energy. I've devoted an entire video to this one day. You follow? So we're going to look at this chart real quick and we'll see what planet changes sign, because we do have that happening midweek. A planet moves into a new sign. And when that happens, that means we have a planet at a critical degree for a couple of days, because it's at 29 in the sign that it's leaving, and then it goes to 0 degrees into the sign that it's moving into. So normally you feel that in some way in your life. Okay, you already see I got the moon there. Full moon doesn't happen at 22. Where does it happen? It happens at 27. So what that means is it's a closure and ending of a cycle, because it's the full moon. That's how full moons roll. Usually they're really very emotional. When you have a full moon in Aquarius, Aquarius is not emotional. It actually doesn't like emotions. It gets irritated and agitated by emotions because the Aquarius is so grounded. Think Saturn. There's something attached to the reality, and I need proof for that. We think science, where we're always running tests, and I need proof. I have to be able to prove this, right? So there's reasoning and logic. You know, it can be very idealistic, but there's something with that Aquarius energy where the emotions, it feels almost like it might even be too heavy for it at times. And so about being logical and rational, very forward thinking, very unconventional, very individualistic. The moon is the public. You know, some of the keywords that aren't real popular with Aquarius energy, and they're more like the vices, would be somebody who's quite arrogant, who might even speak condescending to somebody because they're the authority figure. They know more. Very rebelliousness energy. Very so individualistic. It's like, screw you. I'm not following the crowd. I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. I got to do my own thing. And that's another reason why it doesn't want to get too latched on to the sway and the pull of the mood and the moons and the cycles and the feelings and the emotions, because it doesn't trust the emotions. It feels like it's not proof. Just because you feel that way doesn't make it true. It just means that you absolutely truly feel this way. You see, for Aquarius energy, it is definitely more rooted in, I need proof for that. We need to back this up. We've ran tests, statistics, probabilities. We've run the test. Like, that's Aquarius energy. And it is astrology. So I have some dates written down here. 19 to 21, that's the date. From the 19th to the 21st, we're dealing with Venus. Venus is in Virgo, okay? And with Venus in Virgo, this is very practical, grounded energy. So I like Venus in Virgo. She's smart, she's logical, she's rational. She can strive for perfection. Peace and beauty, cleanliness is next to godliness, the details. Venus and Virgo. All right. Venus does like peace, and she's squaring Mars and Jupiter, because Mars and Jupiter are in Gemini. All right. So keep that in mind for those of you who've got things in your chart between the 19th and the 21st of this month. We look down here and we see Gemini energy. It's drawn in. It starts with Regulus at 17. From all the way to Regulus, all the way to like 20 degrees, 21, 22 degrees, because Mars moves about 4 degrees. Well, Mars will go to 22 at the end of the week. So that'll be Mars right there. Okay. So Venus and Mars will be squaring. So between those dates, between the 19th and the 24th. Okay. And that's a square between the details, the communication, siblings and coworkers, because it's Gemini energy. Where I live, next door neighbors, my housemates, right? Communication and schools. This is also the salesperson. This is also news and social media. It's Gemini. Busy, busy, busy energy. It is also about networking. These are talkers. These are communicators. This is this constant talking with my hands energy. So Venus squaring, or Venus getting a square. Depends on how your Venus is in your chart. How is it aspected? Is it in a healthy? Is it in a sign where it's really strong? Or is it in a place of weakness or detriment? That will tell you how this square works out. For some folks, the squares, especially because it's the two great benefics in the chart, the lesser benefic and the greater benefic, angling and talking. Even though it's a square, for some of you, this could be a positive aspect. Again, those dates are going to be between 19th and the 21st, where you feel the stress and the tension with work and jobs and coworkers and details, tasks and projects being on time and schedules. So it's that square angle between Virgo and Gemini. That's what you're looking for in your chart, Virgo energy and your Gemini energy, and the angle that happens, the square that happens. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Virgo energy. So Virgo season begins in full swing, which strengthens Virgo power, right? So let's go to Virgo. You see the sun. I've got drawn up at the beginning of the week. I talked about the full moon. The sun gets to a critical degree, right? This critical degree happens on the 21st of this week, August 21st, August 20th, 21st. Sun is at 28, 29 degrees of Leo. So that's a person in charge that can normally be an authority figure, big boss energy, someone who's a boss at the job, someone who's a public figure, right? We think of politicians. We think, it's the Leo. I'm the boss. I'm king. I rule over you. I'm above the law, right? We all can fill in the blanks and see those faces of people who feel like the laws don't apply to them. 20th and 21st are the critical degrees of the sun in Leo, but then 22nd, the sun in Virgo. And it's a big deal because the sun is not just at 0 degrees Virgo, it's conjunct the 0 degrees Regulus in Virgo. Right. The big Regulus in the sky that for so long was at that 29 degrees of Leo. Well, it's been in 0 degrees of Regulus for many years because it's very slow moving. This is the details. This is the hyper critical, super analytical, but analytical to the point where I am being unbelievably critical of things, whether it's, I see it online all the time. People will say certain things, like in comments, and you'll see other people not even addressing the topic of the video, but shredding people in the comments under the video. Do you follow? So it's not about the video and what was said. They're shredding them. And I get it. There's a lot of bad actors or fake online like bots, bad accounts where it's foreign entities really starting arguments with you and us like being stupid and not realizing like we're arguing with a bot or whatever. And or humans who literally are trying to divide us as a country, right? Because that's a thing here for us. It's an election year, folks. Like, yeah, it's going to be full throttle in fifth gear, driving with the pedal to the metal type of thing when it comes to the online stuff. Again, Venus squaring Mars and Jupiter. Okay, so stress and tension. And this is that online stuff, the nitty gritty, the communication. All right. So Mars takes action and it's Jupiter, so it can go big, right? And it's that Gemini energy, public figures. So there would be reasons where we would be kind of fired up and want to be communicating or wanting to give our 2 cents. And so all of that coming off of that big full moon on the 19th, all of this is kind of just, it's almost as if these first 4 days of this week kind of function as one. But when the transition happens, this fiery sun from Leo into Virgo becomes way more practical, becomes a little bit more down to earth, becomes a little bit more rooted in reality. It's more, all of a sudden, your focus and what you're focusing on and what gives you energy is more about my freaking health. Like, I got to stay sane, man. This shit was too much. Like I got caught on fire, so to speak. Like, I got all riled up. So when the sun goes into Virgo, again, it's more practical. It's more down to earth, right? And the energy, the sun being conjunct Regulus, it's empowered there. Regulus is a point of, hey, let's find a way where we can logically build a bridge, where we can logically figure out how to make this better. Like, let's connect the dots in a practical way. And we're using the data and the details. And we're saying, wait a minute, this either does or doesn't make sense. And now I can see the reasons why. And even though, yes, I didn't draw Mercury on here anywhere, but that is a big part of the story because I'm talking about the data and the details. And Mercury is in a retrograde. She's still retrograding. She will be retrograding this whole week. The retrograde does not end yet, but Mercury is our mind and our thinking and what we're talking about, what we're sharing, what kind of information we're taking in. Whenever it does a retrograde, it's doing that. It's collecting the data that it missed the first time around. You follow? And it's all the Leo themes. All the Leo themes. Somebody might have been being risky. Risky with what, right? Risky in love, playing games, gambling. That's Leo energy. Sports, that's Leo energy. Okay. So this Mercury doing the retrograde means that all of this talk and communication that we're doing in this energy up here, a lot of it's because Mercury's retrograding and we're fired up. It's Mercury in Leo. And because it's the retrograde, its mind is really activated. It's going to be super expressive. And the key thing with Leo energy, that when we're communicating, use the humor to break ice, use the humor to build bridges, use the humor. Like I've been watching, I guess Prime started showing um, the old Archie Bunker series, whatever, All in the Family. And as a kid, my dad would always have them on. And so I only sporadically would see some of those every now and then because for many years we never had a television. So there's things I'm watching that I've never seen before. But after that first or second episode, I was like, this is brilliant. We need this right now. We need this in present day. Like these reruns need to be like they talk about major issues, social issues, right? All Aquarius shit, but it's all the same shit we're talking about now, the same conversation, but they're having it in this sitcom. So there's humor while discussing very serious topics and things where there's a lot of division and anger over, where people are really hot under the collar. And that's part of what the show is about, where there's, the younger generation arguing with the older generation and the older generation stuck in their ways and blah, 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 blah. And all of that. But it's conversations that need to be had without people wanting to kill one another. So that's kind of what I'm reminded of when I see the first 4 days of this week. So once the sun moves into Virgo, it's conjunct Regulus. The sun moves 1 degree a day. And then it calms things down in my mind a bit, right? It calms things down because Venus is now also moved. Between the 23rd and the 26th, Venus is getting in the higher degrees of Virgo. And this is wonderful. Venus is now over here. This is a trine to Uranus. Ooh, a surprise in values, a surprise with money, maybe a surprise for peace, a surprise with something for the earth. Venus wants peace. Venus is in Virgo. She's got the details. It's practical. It's tangible. Virgo says, I am holistic. We're doing this and we're doing what's good for the planet. And here's Venus talking to technology, Uranus in Taurus. Venus rules Taurus. So you can kind of feel my excitement in this, where I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this for the latter end of this week. I love this connection between Venus because it wants something that's exciting and new. It's even though Uranus can be disruptive, it's Venus talking to an authority figure. So Virgo energy is the jobs, is the job market, is getting the job reports, is getting the details and the information back that the Fed needs to ease interest rates. And unfortunately, the reality is, folks, that for interest rates to go ahead and to be decreased, they need to see the economy slowing down. They need to see less jobs created. So you need like a mini recession, which means not as many jobs reported as created, and even some folks losing their job. My point is, when you have Venus connecting with the authority figure, with Uranus, Venus takes orders from Uranus. It's like dad energy. They're in earth signs, so they're like, wow, we're getting the data we need. So it looks like September, this looks really even more positive that there may be a rate cut. So the bigger cycles that are happening behind the scenes of these details now, which you want to pay attention to this. There's Uranus at 27 degrees in Earth in Taurus. Uranus is going to go retrograde. Okay. It does not happen this week, not this week, but it is going to happen at this degree. So, this is why this degree and that Venus connecting point was so important, because that's where Uranus is going to stand still. So, the fact that Venus, the money, had a conversation, Venus in Virgo, the details, the jobs, the job report, talking to the authority figure, you see the connection, right? It makes a lot of sense. Taurus energy also has Hygeia in it. Hygeia is not a fast mover, but it's now at 5 degrees. Okay. This is the health report card. So, this health report card in our money, in banking, in our values, right? It's Hygeia in Taurus connecting really well, connecting with trine energy to Virgo energy. And the sun moves 1 degree a day. Remember what I said at the beginning, which means that 5 days into this week, which takes us to like the 24th, the sun is going to be at 5 degrees of Virgo, which means the sun is now in an exact trine with this health report card. So there's a lot of evidence in this chart to tell me the authority figure and the banking sector, even like a report card coming from the banking sector. Real estate, probably a big deal this week too. Real estate in general, because if you look at Gemini energy and you look at Virgo energy, well, they angle and square each other. So I have them both outlined in the red zones, right? I have the red around them for that reason, because it's a big square with these. Okay. So you've got Mars and Jupiter and the Venus stuff. And this is all the housing market, housing, the real estate, and the jobs. Going back to Uranus, the retrograde begins on September 1st. We'll have a separate video for that. I'm not sure when you're going to see this video. If the video is already up on the channel, you know me, I'll put a thumbnail or a picture of it here so that you can see it, because you'll want to know how far it goes back. Remember, Uranus is the disruptions. It disrupts our values. So Uranus is there to disrupt the values. And anytime a planet goes retrograde, it's more pronounced. So Uranus is known to be the awakener. That's the keywords for Uranus. I am the awakener. I bring shocks and surprises. That's what I do. That's my job. And I'm an authority figure. That's Uranus. Okay. Jupiter and Pluto sitting at 8 degrees in Aries. And this is important because the North Node's at 7. So let's back the chart up so you can see the big picture, so that you understand what's going on in your life. This is cardinal energy for the people who have cardinal objects in their chart. This can include your house cusp line. It doesn't have to be an angle. Any house cusp line. All right. And that's from between 5 and 7 degrees, 5 and 8 degrees of Aries, of Libra, and of Capricorn. Okay. In Cappy, we've got a couple of objects. We have Cirrus. So this is corporations and it's food. It's the values. It's wheat. It's food security. People setting up long-term tangible food security. And this has been a thing, trying to get food to Gaza, trying to have food, making sure Ukraine's got food. Ukraine is a major supplier of wheat, and this is a big deal. That is Ceres, the goddess of wheat, and Capricorn, businesses and corporation and government. Okay. It's a retrograde, and this is a T-square. It's been in this T-square with the North and the South nodes for a couple of weeks already, and it's still sitting here at 7. Okay. So we go to the South node in Libra, and it's right there, 7 degrees. Remember, the South node is what we're releasing. It's what we've already done. It's relationships. It's the past. And if you got something here, there may be something or someone you're releasing. Professional partnerships. This could be marriages for some, business partnerships, people reevaluating their priorities and saying, you know what, this partnership, it's outdated. It doesn't work anymore. And I'm moving on. That's a thing. That is absolutely a thing. And what I will say too here is the significance of this 7-degree thing is we think of the courtroom, we think of lawyers too. We think of Lady Liberty and justice for all, right? Yeah, equality, compromise and equality is a big deal. So this big ass T square, it's got the Jupiter Pluto midpoint. You see? And so Jupiter enhances something, right? It can be very confident and there can be optimism, but it usually goes big. Well, it's touching Pluto. So it's a change, a forever change. That's Pluto. Pluto, wherever you see Pluto in your chart, whatever it's touching, whatever it's aspecting, meaning it's aspecting something in a way, or it's angled in a way where it can have a conversation, positive or negative for you, right? Strong or weak. That's what the angle and the word aspect is all about. When it makes an aspect, it means it's having a conversation. The difference is it a square? Is it a trine? But either way, whatever it is, whether it's a square or a trine, Pluto will make a forever change. It makes a change at the very root level, which is why it's a forever change. This is in Aries. So it's about your body autonomy, your appearance, your individuality, your civil liberties, your freedoms, right? Appearance is such a big thing in Aries energy, but we also think weapons because we think Mars, it's the ruler. We think war, we think battles, we think races and being first, right? Aries energy, but my gosh, it's the freaking midpoint at 8 degrees. This is the degree of Pisces. This is the degree of Scorpio, and it's Pluto. Pluto rules this. So this is why this 7-degree in this conjunction with the North Node, where we are headed, the North Node. This is about where we are headed. This is about our future. Things are changing, which is good because we're seeing too much repression. Only a certain group has the right to have these certain freedoms, right? So we think of the Supreme Court, we think of rulings in courtrooms, and we think of Pluto here to make forever changes. Changes where once they're made, you don't recognize the person or the event or the place. It's that sort of a deep change. It's the other midpoint we're including here is the Jupiter-Saturn midpoint. It's in Earth. It's in Taurus at 2 degrees. Now, these midpoints, because they're connected to the outer planets, they stay where they are for a nice amount of time. It's not a one-day event. They can be here for weeks. So this is Earth. This is Taurus energy. So it's a nice trine to Virgo and Capricorn. It's a nice trine. Something easily happens. And it's really wonderful for the earth signs because it includes Saturn, which means we can set up long-term material, tangible security. You follow? Because this midpoint's going to be here for a nice amount of time. Okay? Not forever, but definitely for the rest of this month, this stabilizing energy, my values, my money in the bank, to my work and my job and my long-term goals. That's Capricorn energy, the long-term goals, the material, the tangible, something I can hold in my hand, something I will work on for a long, long time. A nice green light for your Taurus and your Capricorn energy in your life, which creates stability and the hope for peace. The other midpoint is the Jupiter-Uranus midpoint. Okay, Jupiter and Uranus midpoint. Remember, I mentioned Uranus at the beginning of the video. I talked about how it's going in a retrograde. The midpoint is in Gemini. Yeah, this is where it's crazy because it's in Gemini, so it's messing with our minds. Our minds are like, okay, what is going on? We're thinking of different options. We're having conversations and discussions. We're like, but I need to change my mind now. I felt this way about this one thing. You see how it's can be very confident energy, but Jupiter can also be tricky in Gemini because it can exaggerate things. Now, it can exaggerate things with who? Oh, I don't know. Authority figures? Yes. It can show us authority figures where there's things we're seeing where we're like, oh God, this is not good. We can see things with people who are trying to change the details and documents and make Maybe they've written documents. I know I mentioned it before. Have you heard of Project 2025? I wrote it down in the last video, and so I'm saying it here because Jupiter makes us aware of Project 2025. If you haven't read it, I'm not saying you need to, but you might want to instead of listening to me. Maybe our mind getting a little blown away because some people have an unbelievable amount of confidence in their beliefs, trying to sell us and trying to persuade us that something's for our best interest when it's really not, right? But education and dumbing us down. All right, I hope this helped. If you've got any questions, comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, I always appreciate your time. Bye-bye.